Conditional statements in ActionScript 3.0 are pretty similar to conditional statements in just about any other programming language. Let's go to the first keyframe of the action layer, and we'll open up the Actions panel to create a simple if statement. An if statement in ActionScript is created by typing the word if, all lowercase, some parentheses, and some curly braces. If the condition inside the parentheses is true, then the block of code in the curly braces will run. So, we'll do a simple if statement to start out. We'll do if 4 space greater than sign space 3. So if 4 is greater than 3, which is true, then we're going to trace condition is true. So in the parentheses, I'm going to type some quotes, and then I'm going to type the string condition is true. Test the movie, and you should get condition is true in the output window. If I change that greater than sign to a less than sign and make the condition false, test the movie, I get nothing in the output window. Now, if you wanted to run a block of code if this condition were false, you can use something called an else statement. So right below that if statement, I'll type else, and then below that, I'll type some open and closed curly braces, and then a trace statement inside of there that says condition is false. Make sure to close out the quotes and the parentheses, add a semicolon to end the statement, and then test the movie again. So now I get condition is false in the output window. So if this condition is not true, then the block of code in the else statement will run. You can actually set up a hierarchy of conditions using these conditional statements. There's another type of conditional statement called an else if statement. That runs if the first condition is not true, then we can check to see the second condition. So I'm going to go right below that if statement, and above the else statement, I'm going to type else space if, some parentheses, and some curly braces. And in the parentheses, I'm going to write a statement that is true. So I'm going to type if 10 is greater than 1. Then I'm going to type trace, some parentheses, and a semicolon, and I'll pass in a string that says else if statement is true. Test the movie with Command Enter on the Mac or Control Enter on the PC, and we get else if statement is true. Now you may be wondering why we don't see condition is false even though the if statement is false. Because we have here a hierarchy of conditions. So if statement 1 is true, then this block of code that I have highlighted will run, which says condition is true. And then the block of code will stop processing because the else and the else if statements are all connected to this if statement. So that is evaluated as false, and then the ActionScript processor will go down to the else if statement and see if that condition is true. If it is, that block of code will run, and then the else statement will not be processed. If this conditional statement in the else if is false, so if I just change that greater than sign to a less than sign, then the else statement will be evaluated. So the else statement is kind of like a default statement. So if I test the movie again, then I get condition is false. Now, greater than and less than signs aren't the only ActionScript operators for comparing values. You can use an equal sign after a greater than or less than sign to mean greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. You can use two equal signs to mean is equal to. You can use an exclamation point and equal sign to mean is not equal to. There are a few others, but those are the most common ones. If you want to find more information about conditional statement operators, look up conditional statement operators in Flash Help. So to review creating conditional statements, you can create a basic if statement by using the if keyword. In parentheses, pass in the condition, and then in curly braces, write the code that you want to execute if the condition is true. You can use an else if statement with an if statement to run if the if statement is false, passing in a second condition. The syntax for that is else space if, make sure it's below an if statement, and then in the parentheses, the second if statement or the else if statement, and in the curly braces below that, you put what you want to happen if the else if statement is evaluated as true. If nothing is evaluated as true, you can use an else statement by using the else keyword and then writing the code that you want to execute in curly braces.